So that, because when you design any solar collector or when you design any solar thermal system, the temperature at which the heat is required as well as the amount of heat that is required, that is, two things are very important, because that is the basic input data to design any solar thermal system. Then I will discuss the principle of heat collection by solar collector. Now this particular slide, to my understanding, is very important if you want to, you can say, improve the performance of any solar collector, or if you want to design any novel solar collector for your certain applications. So if this principles are principle of heat collection by solar collector is very well clear, you would understand that whatever development in the field of solar collector is happen, okay, that is based on this one of the principle that I'm going to discuss in the principle of heat collection. Then briefly I would be discussing the prior art, that is what are the type of existing solar air heaters, which are of course non-concentrating type solar air heaters are available, because normally these heaters are designed to deliver the heat in the temperature range of around 70 to 80 degrees centigrade. Then myself and my students are mainly working on the evaporated glass tube based solar air heater. So we have developed various versions. The first is without reflector. The second version is with a flat reflector, and the few versions are also developed with the parabolic reflector. So we have worked in a range of concentration ratio from 1/pi, because when it is without reflector, the concentration ratio in certain literature is mentioned as 1, but by the definition of the concentration ratio, that is aperture area divided by the absorber area. So by the definition and by the way the area is considered, this would be 1/pi and not the 1. I will justify at appropriate time. Then, as I mentioned earlier, I would be discussing the evaporated glass tube based solar air heater with flat reflector, segmented flat reflector, and parabolic reflector. Then for this 3 category, we will understand the basic equations, the main equation, not all, the basic equation of thermal analysis of evaporated glass tube based solar air heater. A common program has been developed where certain conditions are given. So depending upon our concentration ratio in a range of 1/pi to 4, the same program can be used to predict the performance of this EGT-SC as a solar air heater. And then I would like to highlight some of the points regarding the experimental investigation. So yesterday we started with this particular slide, and you all must have understood this particular slide. And the conclusion of this slide is and was that our energy demand increases day by day, and there is a need to explore the other source of energy. These are the problem with conventional fuel that also we discussed yesterday, and these are the solution to the problems where we are talking about the solution as explore the other source of energy, that is renewable source of energy. Okay. So yesterday, if you remember, during the first half, one of the professor asked the question regarding this PV installation. And I told you that tomorrow I am going to elaborate with certain facts and figures. So this figure depicts the cost of solar PV cell that has reduced from 1977 to 2015. You can see that the cost has reduced by more than 225 times. Okay. Even those who are having experience of about 10 to 15 years. So before 10 to 15 years, the cost of solar PV in India also was in the range of 115 rupees per watt power to 150 rupees per watt power. And now the solar panel is available in the range of 45 to 55 rupees per watt power. Okay. So the facts and figure represent that the solar energy is a technology. Okay. And you know that when the technology is used more and more, it is deployed more and more, its cost decreases. Okay, so that is a great thing that has happened with the solar energy. So if more solar collector, more solar PV systems would be deployed, then its cost is going to decrease. Vis-a-vis, if you talk about the fossil fuel, they are the fuel. Okay, so more we use, because of the limited resources, its cost increases, and that has happened with the, or that is happening with the conventional fossil fuel. Day by day, year on year, the cost of the crude oil and the derivatives from the crude oil, that is petrol, diesel, increases day by day. This is certain facts and figures regarding the potential of solar energy in India. The technical potential of solar energy in India is about 5,000 trillion kilowatt hour per year. I repeat, the technical potential of solar energy in India is 5,000 trillion kilowatt hour per year. Now, here, the retention of this slide would be justified. You can see that the total electricity generation is around 1,500 terawatt hour. Let's say maybe in 2021 it has increased to, let's say, 16,000 or 17,000 terawatt hour. Compared to that, the potential of solar energy is much greater. And remember one thing, this is the technical potential. It is not merely written that it is a potential. So what I'm telling is that this number is derived from the fact that on locations where there is a technical potential to capture the solar energy is considered. It is not simply a product of average solar insolation over India, okay, and the total land area of the India. It is not like that. Okay, it is a technical potential. So if one can compare the two numbers of current energy production or electricity production of India and the technical potential, one can easily get convinced that there is a tremendous potential if we only harvest the solar energy. Okay, so yesterday someone also asked me the question that what should be our target. Okay, and I told you that our target should be 100%, but right now we are at 17%, so slowly it should increase to 30, 40 and 50, and eventually a day should come, okay, probably in our life itself, that we have majority of the power extracted from the solar energy. These are certain numbers regarding the insolation across the India at various locations where there is a technical potential. The solar insolation is in the range of 4 to 7 kilowatt hour per meter square per day. In Ahmedabad, this peak value is 7.54 and average value is 5.76 kilowatt hour per meter square per day. With the solar energy, we have the ability to generate the power. Suppose by chance grid is not available at particular location, then too the solar PV panel has ability to generate the power. Okay, and capacity can be easily added. Okay, for example, suppose you have a power plant of 120 megawatt. Now, if you want to increase the capacity of that particular power plant to let's say 200 megawatt, the time required to make the changes would be very great or would be very high compared to the solar PV, because in solar PV, suppose you have a 1 kilowatt, then you put a panel according to 1 kilowatt output, 2 kilowatt simply you double, 3 kilowatt simply you triple. So the addition of the capacity is very achieved in a very short time. There is a technical potential at Thar Desert, and the total area of Thar Desert is around 35,000 kilometers square, and we can generate around 7 lakh to 21 lakh megawatt power. And using the solar thermal, we can also use, or rather develop, low temperature applications for heating and cooling of the urban rural area. So this is something regarding the technical potential of solar energy in India, and this slide should convince you that yes, there is a tremendous potential. if we harvest the solar energy in an economical way. Now, these are some of the applications. During your MTech or PhD work, you can target one of the applications, and accordingly you can develop your own solar collector, which is novel one and efficient one. Okay. So the first application is very common. Now everyone, those who are interested in solar energy, they must be familiar with this particular application, that is domestic and industrial water heating. Earlier we used to use flat plate solar water heater at our terrace, and now we are using evaporated glass tube based solar water heater because they are more efficient. Similarly, of course, these solar water heaters are nature circulation based, but if we go for a forced circulation base, then the industrial water heating requirement in the range of around up to 120 degrees centigrade. Of course, when you go for 120 degrees centigrade, one has to go for a booster mirror, or one have to go for a concentrating collector. So that is the first application of domestic and industrial water heating. Yesterday someone told about the feed water heaters. Okay, and yes, for feed water heating we can use the solar water heater, but the problem is area is not available, and second is normally the feed water heaters are employed to improve the second law efficiency of the steam power plant. Then the second application is mainly related to our today's lecture, that is the air heaters. The hot air is required for varieties of application. Very few applications are mentioned over here. So the first thing is drying or similar applications. Then air heaters is required for painting shop or drying, and many applications are there where you require the hot air. Air is having its own advantage and disadvantage as a working fluid with the solar collector. Okay. Then for domestic, so this second application, various applications require the temperature in the range of 150 to 250 degrees centigrade. Then the third application is domestic and commodity cooking, where the temperature is required in the range of 90 to 350 degrees centigrade. Okay, suppose you want to cook even the chapati and dal at very high speed, the temperature requirement is very large. Commodity cooking, basically for commodity cooking, your temperature requirement would be pretty high. Then for active and passive solar still, also we can use the solar energy, because yesterday someone mentioned regarding the scarcity of the water, and one of the speakers is going to talk about the state-of-the-art desalination technique in one of the session. So active and passive solar still require the temperature up to 90 degrees centigrade, and for active solar still we can use the solar collectors. For low pressure process steam also in the range of 120 to 180 degrees centigrade, that is less than 10 bar steam, one can go for the solar thermal collectors. The next application we have already discussed yesterday, that refrigeration air conditioning by absorption and adsorption cycle. Yesterday was the lecture on recent development of solar R&AC. So I'm not going to elaborate because various options were discussed yesterday. Then the power generation using organic Rankine cycle was also discussed yesterday, and then power generation using Rankine cycle. So that required a temperature up to 450 degree centigrade. So these are the applications. So when you start any research work, the application should be there in your mind. The application should be there in your mind, and because the collector which is capable to deliver the heat at particular temperature may not be capable to deliver the heat at certain higher temperature, and of course it can be operated at lower temperature, but at lower temperature also the gain in efficiency may not be as high as you predict by changing the design parameters. So that also we will see in one of the slides. So basically the temperature will decide your concentration ratio and the type of the collector, and then the amount of heat that is required will be talking about, or we'll talk about the size of the collector or size of the solar thermal system. So we will take up the question after this particular slide, and because I want to devote little more time on this particular slide, and after that we will have a short question answer break. Now, as I told you, suppose you want to design a solar thermal system, that is a solar collector. You must remember the principle of solar heat collection. So this particular slide is, you can say, the conclusion of the experience of working with various solar collectors, and that any researcher, any PG student, any ME, MTech or PhD students who is going to work on solar thermal system, he or she need to understand how the solar collector capture the heat, how the solar collector can capture the heat. Okay, so let's start with this particular understanding of principle of heat collection, principle of solar heat collection. So what we assume is that, let's say that we have a flat surface which is exposed to the sun. Let's assume that we have a flat surface which is exposed to the sun. Now, how the heat transfer model can be developed for this particular flat surface? So you know that the solar radiation is coming from the sky, so there will be absorption of solar radiation by the top surface. Absorption of the solar radiation by the top surface. Okay. There would be heat loss by conduction, convection and radiation by top and bottom surface. So if you have a flat surface, you have a flat plate collector, first thing we need to understand is that there would be absorption only from the top surface, but then there will be loss by conduction, convection, radiation from the top and bottom surface. So the absorption area is single and the loss area is double. So first penalty is there from the loss area. Of course, gradually we will understand how this loss can be minimized one by one. And the simple funda or simple definition of the efficiency is the output divided by input. So the efficiency can be increased by increasing the absorption of the solar radiation and by reducing the heat loss. How we can improve the efficiency? If more solar radiation is trapped by the solar collector, that means the output is more, the efficiency would be higher. And in other words, how the output would be more? If, let's say, X amount of radiation is falling, Y is the useful heat gain and Z is the loss, then obviously X would be equal to Y plus Z. X is equal to Y plus Z. Okay, and efficiency is equal to Y divided by X. Efficiency is equal to Y divided by X. Okay, so for same X, how one can increase the Y? By reducing the Z. By reducing the Z, because the constraint is Y plus Z is equal to X. So that total X is constant. So to increase the Y, one has to reduce the Z. That means one has to increase the absorption to reduce the heat loss. Okay. So what we can do to increase the absorption and to reduce the loss? From the fact of absorptivity that we learn in basic heat transfer. So remember one thing, here I would like to mention one thing is that the design of solar thermal system, requires the great knowledge about the heat transfer. Okay, without heat transfer, without using the fundamental of heat transfer, one cannot design or one cannot understand any solar thermal system. A solar thermal system is nothing but the heat transfer analysis of a particular system. And what is heat transfer? And what is heat transfer? Say basically, at present I'm looking my presentation in another window. So someone has pop up the question. So that question you can raise during the question answer session, because right now it would be difficult for me to concentrate on your that means the Google Meet screen as well as the presentation. So if you have any question, please raise the question during the question answer session, because only by the pop-up noise, but by the time I change the window, okay, your question disappear. So someone raise the question right now, but I would request that you please raise the question during the question answer session. Okay, because right now it is very difficult for me to concentrate both on presentation and question answer session because of this online mode. So we want to absorb more radiation. So the surface should have a color. The surface should have a color which have a more absorptivity. And we have learned that the black surface is having the highest absorptivity. So either we can use the black surface or we can use a selective coating to increase the absorption. There is another advantage of selective coating that we will see little later. Okay, but right now we will understand the black surface and selective coating as to increase the absorption. So compared to, let's say, red surface or magenta surface, if the surface is painted with black color, or if it is selectively coated, because of the higher absorptivity of the black surface and selective coating, the absorption would be higher. The absorption would be higher. Then maybe from the support, there would be conduction. So remember one thing, normally in solar thermal system, the conduction losses are minimal. The conduction losses are negligible, are minimal. Mainly there are convection and radiation losses. Okay. So, but whenever some portion is exposed to metal contact or material to material contact, we can use the insulation to reduce the conduction losses. So that is well known fact. If you have a conduction losses, you provide the insulation so that the conduction losses can be minimized. Then we can use the glass cover, or we can use the evacuation to reduce the convection losses. Here, those who are familiar with the flat plate collector, flat plate solar air heater or liquid flat plate collector, they will understand that above the absorber surface, we provide one or two glass cover. Because this glass cover will reduce the convection losses from the absorber surface. And to completely eliminate these convection losses, because the convection would happen only if there is a medium. So if the space between absorber and cover is completely evacuated, then the convection losses would be almost zero. Even the molecular conduction losses would also be negligible if you have evacuation. So that is the reason that yesterday when we discussed the high temperature solar collector, the high temperature is possible when you have evacuation between absorber surface and the glass cover, which is placed around the absorber. So ISEC collector, ICPC collector, which we discussed yesterday, even quickly I zapped through the CPC with evacuation or evacuated CPC also. Okay. And today also the collector which I am going to discuss is using the commercially available evacuated glass tube. We have modified that commercially available evacuated glass tube to deliver the heat at higher temperature. Then the next option is we can go for a selective coating. So the selective coatings are, because by Kirchhoff law, a normal surface is having absorptivity is equal to emissivity. So the surface which absorb more will also emit more, because alpha is equal to epsilon by the Kirchhoff's law that all of you must have studied in the heat transfer. Okay. So the selective coating are special kind of coating which has a higher absorptivity in a solar spectrum for a radiation in shortwave radiation and has a lower emissivity for long wave radiation. So the heat that is normally losing from the absorber surface is they are losing from the you can say having the higher wavelength. Okay, they are the longer wavelength radiation. So the heat loss, for the heat loss, the emissivity will come into picture. So these selective coatings are a special kind of coating. They have a higher absorptivity and lower emissivity. But of course, what can I say, according to Kirchhoff's law, they have a different emissivity and absorptivity in a different wavelength. For lower wavelength, for shorter wavelength, the absorptivity is higher, and for higher wavelength, the emissivity is lower. But of course, remember one thing, in both the wavelength, the absorptivity is equal to emissivity. I hope my last statement is not confusing you. If it has confused you, forget the statement. And the last option is reduction in absorber area. Reduction in absorber area. So that we can go for, if we go for concentration, then we can reduce absorber area for the certain aperture area. For flat plate collector, aperture area is equal to absorber area. But if we go for concentrating solar collector, we reduce the absorber area for same aperture area. So this mainly reduce convection radiation losses, or I would say that will mainly reduce the loss from the absorber surface. Okay, all the three losses, but in the three losses, as I mentioned earlier, the major contribution is by convection and radiation. Okay, so that concentrating collector, since it reduces the absorber area and the loss is proportional to absorber area and absorber temperature, so since absorber area is less, the convection and radiation losses are reduced. Okay, so now whenever you read any novelty, when you read any research paper, you will find that it includes one of these principles. To improve the efficiency. And here, along with this particular slide, I would like to mention one more thing, is that this heat loss is proportional to absorber area and absorber temperature. So our absorber temperature should be as low as possible. As low as possible means, suppose you require the fluid outlet temperature around 150 degrees centigrade, then obviously your absorber temperature cannot be less than 150 degrees centigrade. Okay, and since there is a heat transfer from absorber to the fluid, so always there would be certain delta T between absorber surface and the fluid. Okay, but remember one thing, you can have a different design possible. Suppose your fluid outlet temperature is 150 degrees centigrade, your absorber temperature could be 160, it could be 170, it could be 200 also. So what I mean is that for same fluid outlet temperature, your absorber temperature should be as low as possible, and that is possible only if you can remove the heat effectively from the absorber. And to remove the heat effectively from the absorber, the convective heat transfer coefficient between absorber surface and the fluid should be as high as possible. And that is the reason that the liquid flat plate collectors are more efficient than air, because heat removal in case of water is more compared to air. Okay. So with this particular slide, we have a short question answer break. If you have any question, you can ask. I would be happy to answer. Yes, at least one question was pop up. Those gentlemen should raise the question right now. Hari Krishna Gohil. Yes, Professor, I can see your question in chat. can we use air heating in steam power plant to increase efficiency? Say we use the air preheater in power plant, but that air preheater is also using the heat coming up from the exhaust. So the technical answer is yes, we can use the solar air heater to increase the efficiency of steam power plant. Okay, but the source of heat is already available. So till date, the solar air heaters are not deployed in power plant. Once again, area is also one of the constraints. Area is also one of the constraints. Mr. Hari Krishna Gohil, hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Satisfied. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure, Professor. Yeah, any other question? Say, my philosophy is still same. You might be feeling that I have prepared certain content, and yesterday also I zapped through certain content. So that is actually the, you can say, the backup content, or that is a content if the time is available. Okay. So a good teacher always focuses on the understanding of the audience rather than the total content to be delivered in a particular session, okay, which he or she has decided. So my goal is not to deliver all the content which I have prepared, okay, because today I have 1.5 hours available, tomorrow it could be 2 hours available, or sometimes it happens that during the session, if the audience like the session, then they allow me to extend the session for 15-20 minutes so that they can understand better and they can correlate the different slides. So that is the reason that I always keep the additional slide with me. So if audience is interested, if audience is ready, I can present the additional content.
Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah, any other question? I think today only students are there. Anyway, I wait for 30 seconds and then I will move further. Yeah, Professor Vipul.
Yes, sir. There are some faculties also available, and
Okay.
the remaining are the students.
Okay.
Yeah, so, sir, maybe there will be no any question because of you are so much expertise and you are teaching point by point. So maybe there will be no any question.
No. Say, Professor, yesterday I didn't mention. My funda is very clear. If you can look at my status also, WhatsApp status also. For a teaching fraternity, normally we use one say that if at the end of the session, if there is no question, it has got two meaning. Either everything is understood or nothing is understood. Okay. But I am an optimistic guy. So I always believe that if there is no question, there is only one option, that is everything is understood.
Yes, sir. Perfect.
I never believe that when the teacher is good, when the students are better, only one option is left, and that is everything is understood. That is on lighter side, of course, but yeah, I'm an optimistic guy. So I always believe that everything is understood. So I think we should move further. So I repeat once again, this is actually the conclusion from the experience. This is not taken from any of the research paper. This is not taken from any textbook or ready-made material. This is basically, the slide is prepared based on the experience that I got after 2001 when I started my PhD. Okay, so this is experience of about 20 years working with the different solar thermal system and understanding various solar thermal system. So then now this is paragraph that you can refer from standard available literature. I have included not all, but this next few slide is to tell you that what are the various methods to improve the efficiency of solar air heaters, the flat bed type solar air heater. Okay, so the first method is we can go for a fin. These are the fins. So if we go for a fin, we can increase the area of the absorber. So remember one thing, the simple funda you need to understand for the heat transfer between absorber and the fluid. And the simple fundamental is it is a heat loss or heat transfer by convection. So heat transfer by convection is by Newton's law of cooling. So Newton's law of cooling in simple word, Q is equal to H A delta T. H, that is convective heat transfer between absorber and fluid. A means area of the absorber or area of heat exchange between absorber and air. And delta T, that is the average temperature of air and average temperature absorber. So average temperature absorber minus average temperature of air. Now, the simple linear equation will tell you that for more heat transfer, for higher Q, you should have higher H. Okay, we should increase the heat transfer coefficient. But remember, normally when you try to increase heat transfer coefficient, pressure drop also increases. So it's optimization problem. When you go for higher area, okay, if you simply increase the absorber area, the loss area also increases. If you go for a fin, the fin will not 100% efficient. So area is not 100% effectively used. Okay. And the fin is basically creates some obstruction in the flow of air. So that also increases the pressure drop. So that is also once again optimization problem. Say optimization means what? When you have some parameter, when you change some parameter, if something increases, something decreases. Okay. And when you have a variation of two parameters into different direction, okay, in a opposite to desired direction, at that time you have to go for optimization. That means the heat transfer should be higher at minimum increase in pressure drop. At minimum increase in pressure drop. Now last term that is left is the delta T. Last term that was left is delta T. Now just now I told you that the delta T should be as low as possible. You can't say that to increase the Q, I will increase the delta T. Because if you increase the delta T, that means your average fluid temperature is your required temperature. So suppose you require the air at 150 degrees centigrade, you can't reduce the temperature at let's say 140 to increase the delta T. Okay, so your 150 is required temperature is fixed. So for same air outlet temperature or fluid outlet temperature, your absorber temperature should be as low as possible. Because if you increase the absorber temperature, your losses from the collector is directly proportional to the absorber. Okay, so this is all tricky situation. It is not a very simple. The device looks very simple. It has got one box. It has got one flat surface or a cylindrical surface. It has got one glass cover. You use the blower or you use the pump, you circulate the fluid and you get the air or you get the hot air or hot water. The system looks very simple, but the performance improvement is not so simple. You have to use your heat transfer fundamental. And remember one thing, when I say heat transfer, being a faculty in thermal engineering, I would say that when I say heat transfer or when one say heat transfer, it inherently include the series of the three subjects, that is thermodynamics, fluid mechanics and heat transfer. The heat transfer required the knowledge of fluid mechanics also and the thermodynamics also. Because first the quantity is determined from thermodynamics and then the rate is determined from the heat transfer, and to determine the rate of heat transfer, many times the fluid flow principles are required, mainly in convection. Okay, so this is the collector. I have elaborated to a little depth. Now just to correlate with this modification, I would say this is glass cover to reduce the convection. This absorber is normally black or selectively coating. We have increased the area to reduce the delta T. From the bottom, there is no absorption of the solar radiation. So in a flat plate collector, you can always provide the insulation at the bottom. Okay, bottom as well as slide. So insulation to reduce conduction losses, glass cover to reduce convection losses, and black or selectively coating to reduce the radiation losses. This is longitudinal fin. This is the complete fin. And normally you will find that this modification is normally happening between the absorber and the bottom of the collector. Because if this modification is happening over here, it increases convection between absorber and glass cover. It increases convection between absorber and glass cover. So that is the reason that whatever modifications are there, that is happening between the absorber and the bottom surface. Of course, here the longitudinal fin is provided, because longitudinal fin, the flat longitudinal fin normally do not create significant turbulence. It does not increase rather significant turbulence. So that is the reason that convection losses between the absorber and the glass cover surface is not increased significantly. Of course, you need to keep some gap. If this fin is touching the glass surface, then there would be conduction from absorber to glass cover through the fin. So there should be always some gap between the two surfaces. Then we can go for a porous media to increase the heat transfer. We can also go for a packed bed. A wire mesh or some sponge, metal sponge kind of things are there. So that will increase the heat transfer. These are the various convective heat transfer coefficient that is taken to a research paper, where the research paper has described how to derive this various heat transfer coefficient from between various components. So that we will understand from our case for our evacuated glass tube solar collector. Here you have a two glass cover. The advantage of two glass cover is convection losses are reduces, but at the same time the solar radiation that is going to the absorber also reduces, because this glass is not 100% transparent. They have their own absorptivity as well as reflectivity. Okay. So if, let's say, if the transmittivity is 0.9, then with one glass cover 90% radiation goes to the absorber. If it is two glass cover, 0.9 to 0.9, so only 81%. Under ideal condition, only 81% radiation is going to the absorber. So one should, this is also once again optimization problem. One should go for one cover or two cover. That is also an optimization problem. That depends upon case to case. If it is of course vacuum, the problem is very simple. You go for only one cover. This is double pass packed bed. This is we have a two parallel pass. Okay, this is double pass. So here air enters between the glass cover and absorber, passes through the packed bed, take a U-turn, and then leaving from this bottom passage. Various components: upper glass cover, lower glass cover, absorber plate. This is also black painted. This is also insulating material, packed bed. These are various losses, heat loss by convection. So that is normally defined as wind heat transfer coefficient. This is radiation losses. This is radiation between glass to glass cover. This is radiation between absorber and glass cover. Then we have a double pass fin plate. So we have a two glass cover. Air is likely to enter from the this particular passage. So air will enter from here, perpendicular to this particular plane wall, the particular cross section, and then leaving from the bottom. Then you know that if you go for a corrugated plate, then obviously in a flat surface, there is a boundary layer growth. But suppose if we go for a corrugated surface, the boundary layer will continuously break. And this because of the breakage of the boundary layer, because of the disturbance of the boundary layer, the heat transfer coefficient between absorber and the fluid would be higher. And the heat transfer would be more. So these are some of the designs. Now let's understand with reference to earlier slide and with reference to heat collection principle. You can see that in almost all the collector, or rather in all collector, not almost all, but in all collector, we have an insulation. Okay. So this insulation reduces conduction losses. When you refer any literature, you should understand from the construction as well as the performance parameter. So we have an insulation. So this insulation will reduce the conduction loss. Then you must have observed that there are glass cover, 1 or 2 glass covers are there. They reduce the convection losses, but it also reduces the absorption of solar radiation, as I mentioned earlier. Selective coating is normally used, now it is very popular, normally used to reduce the radiation losses, And normally we go for forced circulation to increase the heat removal and to reduce the air temperature. So when the air temperature is reduced, the absorber temperature also reduces, and since absorber temperature reduces, the heat loss also reduces. So this is, so remember, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6, 7. So these 7 are very selectively taken prior art, the current state of art. Okay, if you really browse the solar air heater, you will find so many other design. But just to set the stage, just to give you information regarding the various modifications, various methodology that is employed to solar air heater to improve the performance, they are discussed over here. So this is fin, this is longitudinal fin, this is of course can be, you can get a staggered fin, longitudinal fin, porous media, packed bed. This is also one of the packed bed designs. This is fin in upper and lower both the parts, and this is corrugated plate. Now let's understand what we have done. To develop the evaporated glass tube based solar air heater. And why these heaters are low cost and they are energy efficient. Low cost as well as they are energy efficient. So this is basically one of the main elements of this evaporated glass tube based solar collector. So those who are having some interest in solar energy or solar thermal system, they now must be familiar with the commercially available double wall Dewar type evaporated glass tube. Okay, it has got outer tube which you can also refer as a cover tube. You have an inner tube that you can also call as an absorber tube. The outer surface of the inner tube is selectively coated. The space between the two tubes is completely evacuated. And these are some of the physical dimensions and thermophysical properties of this particular evaporated glass tube. Of course, 3 sizes are available in market. I have mentioned only one size because this is the tube with which we normally perform the experiment. This is a commonly used tube having the length of 1.8 meter. There is a 2.2 or 2.1 meter length is also now available, and 1.5 meter length is also available. But this 1.8 meter length is very popular, widely used in even domestic solar water heater. The cover tube diameter is 58 mm and the absorber tube outer diameter is 4.9 mm. The transmittance of the glass cover is 0.91. Length, as I mentioned earlier, 1.8 meter. Solar absorbance is 0.9. And the glass thermal coefficient is also very low, 3.3 into 10 to minus 6 per degree centigrade. Okay. Now to design or to use this particular evaporator tube as an air heater, rather than simply convert it into solar air heater, what simple experiment that you can do is that this particular tube you can test for stagnation condition. This tube you can test for the stagnation condition. Okay. So this tube was tested for stagnation condition. The stagnation condition, I think majority of you are aware about what is stagnation condition. In stagnation condition, the heat removal, the heat extraction from the collector is 0. That means efficiency is 0. You don't allow the heat extraction. So whatever heat is there, that heat will be trapped within the collector and it will raise the temperature of the fluid absorber and the fluid inside the collector. So that particular ETC or EGT, evaporated glass tube, was tested for the stagnation condition, and we achieved the temperature of around 246 degrees centigrade. We achieved the temperature of around 246 degrees centigrade. Okay. So those who are working in an area of solar thermal system, they could predict that if this is the stagnation temperature, normally what could be the working temperature? What could be the working temperature? So if the stagnation temperature is 246 degrees centigrade, the working temperature could be in the range of 100 to, let's say, 110, 120 degrees centigrade. Okay. So now suppose you want to get this particular air at 190 to 200 degrees centigrade. Okay. So the target was to extract the heat from this particular solar collector above 190 degrees centigrade for 6 hours of solar operation. For 6 hours of solar operation. So now you can correlate certain numbers which I am mentioning right now with the yesterday's lecture. Remember, one of the assumptions for economic analysis that was there yesterday was that the 300-day solar, 300 sunny days are available in Ahmedabad, and the system is used for 6 hours of solar operation. So for that particular potato cold store, we designed this particular solar collector based on the commercially available evaporated glass tube. Okay. So we decided that, or we concluded that it was necessary, or it is necessary to concentrate the solar radiation to extract the heat at higher temperature. Okay. Now, what we did is we prepare a simulation program from the fundamental. So suppose you want to evaluate the performance of any thermal system, you can always use the basic fundamental of heat transfer, and you can predict the performance using the fundamental equation rather than going for the available software. You can always develop your own program so that you can get rid of the limitation of the software. You can get rid of the limitation of the software. So we have developed a simulation program to predict the efficiency of the evaporated glass tube based solar collector. Of course, we consider air as a heat extraction fluid. The program, as I mentioned earlier, the program was capable to predict the performance with reflector and without reflector. Okay, just by changing the one parameter, in a program, that one parameter decide whether the collector is with reflector or without reflector, and if it is with reflector, what is the type of reflector or what is the concentration ratio. So it could be 3-segment reflector, it could be 5-segment reflector, or it could be parabolic reflector with the different concentration ratio. You know that in parabolic reflector, the size of the parabola, the XY coordinate will decide the concentration ratio for same absorber. If you have a larger parabola, you have more concentration ratio. If you have a shorter parabola, you have a lower concentration ratio. That the aperture area will decide your concentration ratio. The simulation is done from the first principle. As I mentioned earlier, no commercially available software were used. Okay, it is done from the first principle, and various heat transfer rates are evaluated to predict the efficiency, useful heat collected, and cost per unit heat collected. Okay, because that is normally our output. The last one is very important. Cost per unit heat collected. It may be possible that with higher concentration ratio, your output is more, but that higher concentration ratio may lead to higher cost. So cost per unit heat collected for a given temperature should be your deciding parameter rather than only efficiency. Because the fact is that as concentration ratio increases, your efficiency will always increase. So you will not get any optimum value as far as merely if only concentration ratio is kept as your optimization parameter. Because as concentration ratio increases, normally your efficiency increases for same insolation and same fluid outlet temperature. Okay, so what is more important is cost per unit heat collected, rupees per kilowatt output. So this is a cross section of evaporated glass tube collector. Here, of course, the reflector is not shown. Here, reflector is not shown. Okay, intentionally to enlarge the essential element, because if I show the parabola, then obviously this particular tube and this inside geometry would be very small. So for a better clarity, here intentionally reflector is not shown, but the performance and contribution of reflector is of course integrated in a thermal model that is developed. Now, you know that when you develop any thermal model, you need to consider heat exchange between various components. Okay. Also, you need to understand one more thing is that this evaporated glass tube is open only at one end. This evaporated glass tube is open at one end, the other end is closed. The other end is closed. So you can't have a flow of air from one end and leaving the air from the other end. That is not possible with this ETC. That is not possible with this EGT or evaporated tube collector. So, suppose you want to use this particular evaporated tube under forced convection. If you want to use for natural convection, as it is currently used for solar water heater, you need not to create a fluid content because of the density difference, because of the natural convection current, there would be flow from ETC to storage tank, from the evaporated tube collector to the storage tank. So when you have a natural convection, you need not to create a fluid conduit or fluid passage. But when you want to have a forced circulation, at that time, you need to create the fluid conduit. So how we created the fluid conduit? We have inserted one air tube. We have inserted one air tube inside the absorber tube. And this air tube is inserted up to few mm from the close end, so that air can take a U-turn at the close end and coming back from the annulus of air tube and the absorber tube. So air is coming into the collector from this particular air tube. Since the working fluid is air, we have named this as air tube. It is essentially a metal tube inserted. Okay, and this is the absorber tube. So air is coming into the collector from this particular air tube at the open end, it travel from open end to close end. Okay, let's say you have a tube in isometric view. So it travel from the open end to close end. At the close end, it take a U-turn and it is coming out from the annulus of absorber and air tube. Then you can see some element over here between the absorber and air tube. So that is nothing but our novelty, that is for which we have got the patent also, that is helical wiry turbulator. It is helical wiry turbulator. So this helical wiry turbulator act as a fin as well as turbulator. So it increases the heat transfer coefficient as well as the area, surface area. So it conduct the, because of no specific joining technique is required, because it is a resilience, because of its resilience nature. It is just like a spring. Okay. So it is always in contact with the absorber tube, inner surface of the absorber tube. So the heat would be conducted through the helical wiry turbulator, as well as this turbulator augment the heat transfer coefficient when air is moving through this particular annulus. Okay. So let's understand quickly. First, the salient temperatures, and then the heat transfer mechanism, and then the equation for that particular mechanism. Okay. So I think it's the high time to have a second question answer break. If you have any question, you can ask. Because this design, understanding the working of this solar aerator, EGT based solar aerator is very important. If you cannot understand this working, how the air is moving, what are the essential components, then it would be very difficult to understand the heat transfer model. Yes, any question? Okay, so assuming that everything is clear or understood, let's move further. Now, to understand the heat transfer, we need to understand the essential mode of heat transfer. So, of course, the solar radiation will be falling on this particular absorber tube after transmitting through this outer glass tube or the cover tube. It is also coming out. Let's assume that you have a parabolic reflector. So it is also coming from the reflector, and eventually through the outer glass tube, it will reach to the absorber surface, outer surface of the absorber tube, which is selectively coating. So that is actually, the temperature is the maximum temperature within the system. The absorber temperature, okay, if you have gone through the course on renewable energy engineering, and if you have gone through the thermal analysis of liquid flatbed collector, then you would understand that this absorber temperature is the maximum temperature in this particular system. So that would be, now this space is evacuated. So there would be only radiation from this particular surface. So there would be radiation between the outer surface of the absorber and inner surface of the cover tube. Okay. because of this re-radiation, as well as when the solar radiation is falling on this particular cover tube or outer glass tube, certain amount of radiation is reflected. Because this is a glass, so glass will have all the three: absorptivity having some number, reflectivity having some number, and transmittivity having some number. Okay, so let's say we have a 90% transmittivity, so 90% radiation would be transmitted, and depending upon the absorptivity, certain amount of radiation is absorbed. So this absorption of solar radiation and the re-radiation from the absorber tube increases the temperature of the outer glass tube above the ambient temperature. So whatever heat is re-radiated, that would be conducted through the thickness of the outer glass tube. So there would be temperature of absorber, there would be temperature of temperature of inner surface of outer tube. So TOTI. So temperature of outer tube inner surface. Because of conduction, there would be some delta T, minimal, but some delta T would be there. So if you want exact model or with minimum assumption, then this TOTI and TOTO would be different. Since this TOTO would be higher than ambient temperature, there would be convection losses to the ambient, that is at temperature TA, and there would be radiation to the sky. That is called sky radiation. Okay. Then whatever heat is solar radiation is captured, part of that is re-radiated. So majority of the heat would be retained or captured by the absorber, and that will be conducted through the absorber tube. So there would be two distinct temperature of inner tube or absorber tube inner, and the outer is referred as absorber temperature. We have not used the O over here because absorber is a unique word that should have a common understanding with the conventional used terminology. So this is your absorber temperature, and this is the temperature of inner tube inner. Okay, because of the heat conduction, this temperature would be slightly lower. Then there would be air coming out through this annulus. So there would be convection heat transfer. Between inner surface of the absorber tube and air. Okay, so there would be certain higher fluid outlet temperature. Okay, which is lower than the TITI. There would be also be convection between this air and outer surface of the air tube. Okay, because when the flow is there in annulus, the heat would be convected from absorber surface to the air and from air to the air tube. Okay, so the air tube in outside temperature is also increasing, and there would be heat conduction through the air tube. So there would be certain delta T between air tube outer surface and air tube inner surface. And there would be convection. Between inner surface of the air tube and the air which is flowing inside the inner air tube. So air is heated while flowing from one end of the air tube or open end of the collector to close end of the collector. It will take a U-turn and it would be further heated while moving from the close end of the evacuated tube to the open end of the evacuated tube. Okay, so there would be, you can say that it is the same fluid, not different fluid, but this air flowing inside the tube and air flowing through the annulus, there is a heat transfer between this internal heat transfer between the two stream of air. So that internal heat transfer need to be evaluated. Though we have already taken the short break a while ago, If you find out any question quickly in working or the various heat transfer mode, you can ask. Only 15 seconds. If you want any of the heat transfer mode is to be repeated, let me know so I can repeat quickly. Okay, so let's move further. Presuming there is no question. Now, here I would like to tell you one important thing, that the equation which I am going to discuss, they are the essential equation. All the equations, because the program is, of course, since we have taken care various mode of heat transfer, various heat transfer mechanism, the physical dimensions, everything has to be included in the program. So all the equations, otherwise that thermal analysis itself would be a lecture of 2 hours if I include all the equations. So basic equation, so that at least you can understand the some of the intricacies of the collector. So we need to calculate the efficiency of the collector. Ultimately, we want the efficiency of the solar air heater. So efficiency of solar air heater is useful heat gain collected as divided by the solar radiation falling on the solar collector. Now, radiation intercepted is the insolation measured at aperture plane, into aperture area. Now, remember one thing, this aperture area would different, because what we have done is that we have made a collector for single tube. The collector, various collectors has been made from a single tube. So the absorber area is always fixed. Okay. And depending upon the concentration ratio, the aperture area will change. So that appropriate equation is to be used depending upon the concentration ratio. And heat collected by the air, that is useful heat collected, is simply mass flow rate into specific heat of the air at average temperature and the air outlet temperature minus air inlet temperature. Okay. Now let's start with the outer tube. So as I mentioned earlier, there would be convection from the outer tube. So that can be estimated using this equation, HA delta T. Okay. So the H is to be evaluated using appropriate correlation. Outside surface area you can calculate from the physical dimension. So it is pi dl. This is outer tube, outer temperature. Here, just for the simplicity, because of the lesser temperature difference between outer tube and inner tube, I have mentioned only the outer tube temperature. If you really want to include the intricacy of the conduction through outer tube, it should be outer tube outer temperature minus ambient temperature. The radiation losses can be estimated using the equation epsilon into sigma into area of outer tube into the above to temperature raised to 4. So TO raised to 4 minus T sky raised to 4. Of course, not T ambient, but it should be sky. Now, there are various relations available to determine the sky temperature from the ambient temperature. The simplest correlation is T sky is equal to T ambient minus 6 Kelvin. Okay, some other correlations are also now available in various literature. So you can use those relations, but we have observed we have observed that the difference is always very close to 6. Sometimes it is 5 point something or sometimes it is 6 point something, but it is always, if you round it up to integer number, it is always rounded up to 6. Epsilon is the emissivity of the outer tube. Sigma is a Stefan Boltzmann constant, 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square, Kelvin raised to 4. The outside area I have already discussed. Then I told you that the glass tube is having the absorptivity as well as the reflectivity, and corresponding to absorptivity and reflectivity, the heat is absorbed by the outer tube and heat is reflected by the outer tube. Then heat absorbed by the inner tube, that is heat absorbed by the absorber tube, is what is insolation falling off that minus the heat absorbed by the outer tube and heat reflected. So it is a Qi minus these two equations. Okay, into alpha, that is absorptivity of the absorber tube, that is selectively coated. So that absorbance could be 0.9, 0.91, or like that very high absorptivity is there. So that is estimated using this. Now this heat is absorbed. From that, certain amount of heat would be radiated. So the radiation equation is very much similar to this radiation from the outer tube. So that is effective emissivity. Now, since the two cylinders are very close, in this case it is a radiation from a tube to a larger volume. Okay, so the emissivity of the sky does not play any role. Okay, the various radiation cases you must have learned in the heat transfer. Okay, so this is a radiation heat transfer from a you can say a finite surface to the large envelope. Now this is radiation losses between inner tube and outer tube is the heat transfer between two concentric cylinder. Okay, so in case of two concentric cylinder, you have to find out the effective emissivity, and that effective emissivity can be calculated using this particular equation, and the radiation losses can be estimated using this equation, which is similar to the earlier equation. And the useful heat collected by air can be written as Q useful is average heat transfer coefficient into inner surface area of the inner tube into absorber temperature minus average fluid temperature. It is absorber temperature minus average fluid temperature and average absorber temperature. Now, please understand, it is only 7 plus 4, only 11 equation. That is only 11 equation. But remember one thing, to get the value of various quantity of this 11 equation, you may have to work out with so many equations. This is a very simplified version I have told you. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, this heat transfer model explanation itself may take 2 hours. Okay. For example, here the convective heat transfer coefficient between absorber and air. So if it is a laminar flow, if it is entry length, if it is turbulent flow, so depending upon the case, so you need to use the if statement. If the flow is developing, some correlation will be there. If the flow is fully developed and laminar, some another correlation would be there. If flow is fully developed and turbulent, another correlation would be there. Now the correlation is available for a simple tube. Now in that annulus, we have used the novel turbulator. So for that novel turbulator, the heat transfer coefficient correlations are not available. Okay. So that heat transfer coefficient is estimated using the experimental data. Heat transfer coefficient is estimated from the experimental data, okay, and that was given input to the, so the program is also having trial and error method. Initially you assume some efficiency, based on the assumed efficiency you get some Q useful, based on the Q useful you get some air outlet temperature, based on the air outlet temperature and given inlet temperature you calculate the properties, okay, air properties, that is depending upon the correlation. Some correlation says that you evaluate at the average flow temperature, some correlation say that you evaluate at average of average fluid and surface temperature, that is absorber temperature. So many intricacies are there. I have highlighted few of the associated cases, okay. So a thermal model is developed, and the thermal model is basically used to predict the performance, and the thermal model we validated. The thermal model we validated by performing experiment with various by testing with various solar collector having various concentration ratio, okay. So this first is without reflector. The first one is without reflector. You see that there is no reflector, only 10 tubes are there. So this is the inner header. So through this inner header, upper one, the air is distributed to air tube, which is inserted concentrically inside this particular inner tube that you can see over here. This air tube, so this air tube one end is connected to this header, and the outlet is open to the outlet header. The outlet is connected to the outlet header. So the air coming out from the 10 tube is collected. So air is inlet, and you know that to maintain the same pressure drop, to maintain the same mass flow rate distribution, the inlet and outlet should be on opposite side. Even in the natural convection solar water heater, you must have observed that the inlet and outlets are always, if say that this is a flat plate collector, then if the inlet is on this side, the outlet is on the opposite side. So here also inlet and outlet should be on opposite side, so that pressure drop through each tube is same. Because geometrically they are identical. So if the length of travel is same, we can ensure that the same amount of air is distributed in all the tubes. So such kind of things are also need to be taken care. When you design the experiment. That is not a part of thermal engineering, okay? But that is called the research design. Okay, of course we use the blower. Of course right now not connected to this figure, but this blower is used to supply the air through this particular collector. So we perform the experiment with 3 different mass flow rate, and the temperature as high as 134 degrees centigrade was obtained at insolation of around 1000 watt per meter square. Of course, as you see that, I will elaborate only this one collector because now we have already crossed the time limit of 115. So some of the conclusion: as mass flow rate decreases, maximum temperature increases. That is not true for this collector without reflector. Of course, it is true for all the collector, but we have not tested in that particular range because at very low flow rate, the heat removal is lower. And because of the lower heat removal, the temperature is also lower and efficiency is also lower. But normally, when you reduce the mass flow rate, the temperature increases, but beyond certain mass flow rate, if you reduce the mass flow rate, your temperature would decrease rather than increase, and your efficiency decreases. As temperature is lower, efficiency would be higher. Okay, this is average daily efficiency, not the instantaneous efficiency. This is average daily efficiency. Okay, The same conclusion we have drawn for this 3-segment reflector. Here the fundamental we have used is that these reflectors are at 45 degree. So all the parallel radiation falling over here, that will reflect to the absorber. The rest thing is same. Of course, here air tube and turbulator is not shown. Only the fundamental geometry is explained. So this collector was tested for 7 different mass flow rate. And here you can observe that as the mass flow rate increases, the maximum temperature decreases and efficiency increases. Insolation, we have picked up almost very close to 1000 watt per meter square. During each day, the collector was tested from 9 o'clock in the morning to the 5 o'clock in the evening. These are the further conclusion. The important thing is that this 3-segment is sufficient to cater to your need above 87 degrees centigrade with mass flow rate is 7.72, that is the maximum mass flow rate, and with the minimum mass flow rate, this collector can cater up to above 100 degrees centigrade. So what the slides tell you that the very high concentration ratio is not required if your temperature requirement is very low. Okay, if you require the temperature above only 100 degrees centigrade, close to 100 degrees centigrade, you need not to go for very high concentration ratio. The concentration ratio 1 would be sufficient. Similarly, these 5 segments, these are the observation. The maximum temperature we got up to 184 degrees centigrade. And as the concentration increases, the drop in maximum temperature also reduces. But there is a definite increase in the efficiency. So with this minimum flow rate of this 2.92 that we have experimented, the temperature was above 155 degrees centigrade. And for this maximum flow rate, the temperature was above 135 degrees centigrade. So even your need about 150 degrees centigrade, you don't have to go for a parabolic reflector. Okay. And this is the parabolic reflector with concentration ratio 2.1. These are of course the simulation results for various air outlet temperature and various insolation. So you can see that with lower temperature and maximum insolation, the temperature efficiency is as high as 72%, and the minimum is 70%, around 70%. And similarly for temperature as high as 300 degrees centigrade, the efficiency varies from 35% to around 53%. These are the graph for a typical day. The mass flow rate was 4.9 kg per hour. And I just want to highlight the performance improvement using the fin, using the turbulator. That efficiency of the collector with turbulator is almost double, but when it is tested for the same mass flow rate. Okay, but if it is same tested for same air outlet temperature, because when it is same air outlet temperature, you have to control the mass flow rate, and that is a correct comparison. So when it is tested for same air outlet temperature, the efficiency of fin is higher up to 2.5 times. Okay, while of course I have not mentioned over here, but the pressure drop was not so significant because this wiry turbulator is having lower blockage area, and because of lower blockage area, the pressure drop is increase in pressure drop is not so significant. So with this, I stop here. If you have any question, you can ask. If you want, I can move to any of the slides and I can explain. So the same offer which I gave yesterday. Later on also, if you have any doubt, any question, you can always mail me to my email ID which was mentioned on the first slide.
So I request all the participants, if it will be having some questions, so you can ask our expert, Dr. N.M. Bhatt.
It was not only informative, but it was having some technical or thermal treatment also. So in a one word, it may be difficult to understand, but I tried my best to make it as simple as possible. And that is the reason that the presentation was not flooded with the equations.
I think, sir, there will be no any questions. So, on behalf of the Prasid family, sir, I would like to thank you, sir, for sharing the wonderful informative sessions to our participation. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Professor Mayur Modi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliver the 2 lecture. Okay, thank you.
And all the participants are requested to join at 2 p.m. for the next session.
Yeah, I'm leaving the meeting, Professor. It would be okay, na?
Yes, sir, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you so much all the participants.